All right. Well, it's a little after 7. We'll go ahead and get started. It seems to have slowed down the number of people that are joining. But if you've not done so already, please tell us your name and your county and your role within the chat. We'd love to know who else is in the room. I think looking at who's here, we've got representation from the top to the bottom, which is exciting for the state of California. And we are excited to have you here. I'm Christine McCormick. I'm the education director here at ACCBE, and this session is Beyond the Boardroom. And we have some great trustees who have agreed to be part of our time today to really tell us their stories of how they, as county board members, are really engaging with their community beyond their board. So we are thrilled to have them here, and we're thrilled to have you here. So thanks for coming and joining us tonight. So as we get started, I just wanted to go over briefly what our agenda will be for the evening. So we'll do our little opening, and then I'll let you know who our guests are. And then each of our speakers will have 15 minutes to share some of their insights and perspective. And then we'll allow a little bit of a break so that you can ask questions. So think of those questions that as they're talking that you want to learn more about and find out exactly what that looks like for each of them. And then at the end, when they're all finished, we will have another time. So in case another question came up or you didn't have a chance to answer it or ask it earlier, we'll open it up for a little bit more. We'll share our upcoming events and have some closing remarks, and then let you enjoy the rest of your evening. So ACCB is an organization who are county boards for county boards. So we are excited to have all these county Office of Education partners at the table with us to help improve and support county board members. So we're here to empower county board members to be confident advocates for students and want to be that leading voice for the California Boards of Education and improve outcomes for our students, our families, and communities. We have a foundation of 4 core pillars around advocacy and amplifying the voice of our county board members, our county boards of education, our county offices of education, and the students in which they serve. We want to be a partner with the County Superintendents Association and other coalitions and allied groups to really leverage resources and expertise and share that with everyone. Engage, elevate, and empower our county board members to build their leadership capacity and to look forward. What are the innovations? What are our challenges? And what can we do to help support that as things change in our ever-changing world of education? So now that I've shared a little bit about ACCBE, I wanted to welcome our 3 guests this evening. So we are thrilled to have 3 trustees who have experience not only in their role as a trustee, but more importantly, how they have expanded that role to really impact their community. So we have John Nicoletti here from the Yuba County Office of Education, Jessica Spicer from the Santa Clara County Office of Education, and Lee Davis with the Imperial County Office of Education. As each of them speak, they'll share a little bit more about who they are and what role they have within their county office. But I appreciate all 3 of them, one, answering my email and agreeing to be part of the evening tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And John, you are our first speaker up this evening. So welcome and thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity, and I have to correct my intro. I was the president. I am now just straight on the board. Tracy Bishop is now leading our group and doing a great job. I think it's really great that she takes a very formal approach towards getting the board right. And as a board member, it first comes with deciding to put your name out there publicly and to really refine your commitment to serving. To me, anything that's good in me, I learned first from my mother and then from my wife, and it kind of I run with a belief that you become more of your core. So who you are inside and the kind of person you really develop in yourself just keeps developing. As you age, you become more of that. So I stitched it all together and use it with my experience as a board member at YCOE. I started in family restaurants when I was 11, and I still am involved in hospitality. But these days, I just find ways to make it community benefit and try to do good with that service. And I actually ended up adjuncting for JC for 26 years in hospitality and in culinary. I served for 12 years on the Yuba County Board of Supervisors, which really expanded my Rolodex and gave me a number of different avenues that I could work with. And so as I got onto the Board of Education with Yuba County, um, I just sort of brought all that forward, and I've been there for 8 years now, and probably have another 8 year plan because helping youth has always been a passion point. I've known that I've probably put a huge investment of my professional life into supporting youth with an emphasis on not judging their past, but identifying their future opportunities. And so I'm one of those board members that knows that we need to be a team. I know that we all create emotion together, but I also know that I'm free to serve on committees that may not be as visible at board meetings. That I can go to community action. I can go to today we were at our it's our committee for our community advisory board. Everybody loves help on advisory boards, but in our county, we have a juvenile hall that hosts. Mainly, it was built by Colusa County, Sutter County, and Yuba County as a tri-county partnership. But I think they said in the most recent board meeting that we serve like 13 different counties with our juvenile hall, and so we don't like them to sit idle, and we have obviously an education component that we're responsible for, and we also know we're working against an element where most kids really don't want to graduate from juvenile hall high, right? And so they have enough of the labels, they have enough of the stigma, they really just want to sit there and do their time and move on. At this juvenile hall, we have put in a program that has been very successful over the years. It's known as Camp Singer. You have to graduate your way to it. You don't get to come in kind of raw. You got to work your way through. And I think by being in the hall and by serving time, by osmosis, you begin to learn if you really do good, if you do everything you're supposed to be doing, you'll get to go to these two different phases at Camp Singer. And Camp Singer involves itself in a number of what I think are maverick opportunities for these young people because we've identified that many times kids in juvenile hall might be from a foster program. Many times they might be, just a single parent, broken home. Um, and we also realize that 80% of prison inmates at the state prison level 80% are foster youth from origin. And so we're trying to break that cycle at this level. We're trying to reduce the recidivism. What we want to do is actually show them that they belong to a community and a community belongs to them. And so recently we started gardening with these guys, and they have been growing really delicious food this season, but then they take it into the hall and they eat it for dinner. And that kind of grew through our advisory committee into a discussion about, well, why don't we scale that? Why don't we take it to a different level? And so we decided to show them professional pursuits that would happen around food in California. And there's a little bit of curriculum enhancement, but there's a whole lot of hands-on. Let's go see this. So, Christine, if you could help me and bring up our first slide. Yep.
There you go.
So we decided the end result would be great if we could put on a brunch. And so we called it the Breaking Barriers Brunch. We wanted to take the guys to an active farm. There's a local farm that serves about 7 different farmers markets. It's a 10-acre farm. They grow everything and they grow it very well. Um, but really, we wanted to put some intention into the quest, and so we charged $100 a ticket, and we invited local business leaders to come to the brunch. The money was designed to be put into a foundation that is active at Yuba County Office of Education, and its intent is to, fill the gap if there's a need or something individual the school cannot provide for a person who is graduating, who is being released, um, but they need a little bit of a boost. They need little bit more support. So this foundation money is meant for that. And in this event, we raised just just over $3,000 in net. We had a total of about 6,000 in kind with a 3,000 net. And so this is that day. And you'll notice the gentlemen in the burgundy shirts, those are the students, those are the people that were serving in juvenile hall. So we had them prepare the brunch, yep, and then we had them wash their hands and sit down and engage with business employers and develop a relationship. And I've got a handful of those guys that are waiting for these fellows to be released, and they want to do an interview and they want to give them a second chance. So let's try the next slide. Here they are at the farm. This was the first big step. They were surprised when they could take a green bean off of the plant and it actually snapped. You could hear it, you could feel it. They didn't know vegetables did that. They were surprised that strawberries are red in the inside as well as the outside, because in the grocery store they always come kind of white in the middle and kind of with the packing thing. So getting involved in fresh produce and mingling side by side, and I'll tell you, it was great all the way around. And it's that belong to you, belong to me moment, because the elder gals in this Hmong family farm, the Zong family, just adopted these boys. They wouldn't let them go, and they just wanted to show them this. They wanted to show them this. The boys wanted to help. They became more courteous. They became engaged. There's just something about earthing with people at the same time when food's involved. It was really magic, and it really inspired them. Okay, next slide. So then we go into the hall, and we do have to process vegetables. So this is a day or two before the brunch, and I wanted to go in the hall because I wanted to let them learn about knife skills, about food hygiene, about personal hygiene. So we have a combination of the restaurant owners that hosted the facility that are there. We have other instructors from YCOE that are there, and we explain the purpose of commercial and professional standards and rules. And we just expected them to adhere to that, and they did. They shined. We got a huge amount of work done in a very short time. And we're ready for the next slide. So on the day of the event, we have all kinds of things going on. You can see the guys are actually managing the grill by themselves. They're doing the garde by themselves. We actually have a local gentleman who has a traveling pizza business. He's called Rolling Stoves. And Jim King heard that this was going on, and he just wanted to jump right in and be a part of it. And he was very successful. So here they are with a wood-fired pizza oven, learning that business. And Jim didn't wait for the brunch. He was sending food out. We were feeding these guys while they were, learning to prep. The restaurant owner had her regular employees. They were side by side working, and we talked about those standards, and we expected high standard, and we got it. And the thing I think that was the best outcome for me was these guys knew that they were being respected and appreciated, and they got to participate and experience it just like the people that paid the fare to come in. And when we went to clean up and take this little coffee shop and reconvert it from this big, brunch place back to a coffee shop, they were eager to clean deep, to help move furniture, to make sure every last thing was sought after. We really tried to leave these business owners feeling like they were boosted well and they were supported well. And, it was just a feeling of total success all the way around. And I'll say some of the guys that came in were you know not totally engaged, not totally interested. But by the end of the run, everybody was tuned in. They knew they were doing something that was going to benefit themselves. They knew they were going to get a good return. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know if the last slide just shows a group or if it shows the food, but they got a meal. They are we were raising the eyebrows of the people that paid $100 a plate to eat this because we had quality chef level instructor, but we had them in different stations, and each of these young guys, got put in a situation where they had to produce, but they had support right there with them. And I think for the first time in a short window, you could have an acquaintance but you could get a professional bond out of it. And they just rose to the occasion. It was just fabulous in its outcome. And I think the best result is, and I have a personal tracker on this, but as guys are getting released, they're getting interviews, they're getting supports that are intentional and balanced. And, when we go to and these guys participate in our advisory or school advisory meetings. They'll tell you, I've been in the room. They've said, I want to learn how to clean a house. I want to learn how to balance a checkbook. I really don't understand when you guys are talking about utilities or rent. I don't know, who do you even pay that to, and so they're eager to participate in society. What they don't need are the barriers, uh, which when you flip barriers upside down, it's really communication. It's time with them. It's just spending enough quality that they go, okay, I got it. I got it from here. And you let them, achieve their success. But when you have friends that can come in and help employ them, it helps a lot more too. So that's just an example of what we're trying to do. That's with our juvenile hall. We want to be more than WASC accreditation. We want to be something that is transformative, that truly changes lives, that truly makes them feel like they belong to a community and a community belongs to them. So that's my message.
John, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, what questions do you all have about John and the program he shared? And it's just so exciting to see, watch the evolution of. So, I grew up in Yuba County, so to watch the evolution of what used to be that bad place that kids went. I've had the opportunity to be with some of your Camp Singer kids and during my career, and just watch how that's changed and allowed them to grow. So thanks for sharing all of that, because how cool is that? What a great next step. So what questions do you have for John? Got a lot of reactions. You can either drop a question in the chat, or we're a small enough group. Feel free to unmute. Thanks, Louise. Go ahead.
I want to really thank you for this program, John. It reminds me, years ago, I went to a wellness conference and the keynote speaker was a celebrity chef, and his name was Chef Jeff. And he was on TV and he told us how my life was saved by 8 years in federal prison because he was a Los Angeles gang banger, and he got busted and he went to federal prison and learned he loved food and he loved to cook and came out being a celebrity chef on TV.
Nice.
That is great.
Marcy.
Yeah, hey John, Marcy Masamoto from Fresno County. I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm a farmer, and I get it. It's like the more you can incorporate kids into the work, the better it is. I have probably a kind of off the wall question for you. We have a plant science program in our juvenile justice center, and our instructor is very upset with the fact that he can't grow hot chilies with the kids, because apparently it can be used as a weapon. That the chilies have you had any experience with that? I mean, it seemed like wild. I understand the not wanting to weaponize, but apparently our probation department and sheriff's department are absolutely adamant about no chilies, even though the bulk of our kids are Latino and chilies are part of their diet. So just curious about your experience with that and your response and how you've handled it.
So we've had a lot of limitations with this process. I will say, just as a sidebar, we did an event at a local pumpkin farm a few months back, and one of our probation individuals brought in a whole bunch of local woods, and these guys made charcuterie boards, and they auctioned them off, and the money went to the YCWE Foundation. But they put them side by side with 4-H kids from school campuses, and side by side with like homeschool programs. It was just sort of an open source about how that happened. It was an incredibly successful event, and we judged food. But what was sad, and we had 4 categories we were judging, and the juvenile hall guys won 3 of the 4 categories, but they never found out until after they had returned, because on that night, on our little rural area, there was an accident on our 2-lane highway, and it backed up traffic, and the event started late. And so they met curfew, and the kids had to go back. And so they did not get to experience the cheers of the crowd. They were cheering in their van, but we realized there are limitations in the incarceration field, and we don't have that default. So I just have always taken a real super cooperative. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel notion. I have not seen how to identify, the heat of a pepper from seed or from a small plant. I don't know how you can make a mild one and convince, the probation chief that we can do this, and we can do meet their cultural needs. That's gonna. My first thing is I'm sorry that we have to acquiesce to those rules. Darn it. But maybe if we could have a controlled environment where we made some Mexican dishes and then served them to the sheriff and the probation chief and ourselves, and had a chance to build some trust, they might understand the value of cultural strength, because I think so much restoration happens from within the family. If they can fix it, they can sustain it. And so I think maybe it's time to have the fellas that are incarcerated to cook up their traditional family meal, and let's share a meal with the people that make the decisions and see if we can influence them.
Jennifer has a question.
Well, I have a comment. And so I have a son who's a chef. Actually, he's developed quite a few restaurants. He did his culinary graduate work in Italy. And I'm on the Napa County Board of Education. And I can ask him, Marcy, about exactly that because he taught in many schools culinary skills. He's done that. That was part of his early career. But I can tell you at Camille Creek, which is our Corton Community Schools, we have a cultural day, and they always prepare their cultural meals. And I'm guessing hot peppers are a part of that, but I can certainly find out about that. And I can ask our son Anthony. Also, I don't know if any of you have heard of Bar O. Have you heard of Bar O? Now, I stepped into this. I'm sorry, I'm in Hawaii and I am on a different time frame, and I all of a sudden was like, oh, it's 7 o'clock in California. I'm house sitting for my other son. But anyway, so Bar O is a camp for kids. I don't think it exists anymore, but it was up by, is that Eureka way up by the California border?
Mhm.
And and these kids, they did a behavioral modification program with it. And I used to run a peer court program, so I'm familiar with a lot of juvenile justice circumstances. Anyway, these kids made food. Every 3 months or so, they would have a different kind of project, and everybody was invited to come and be a part of it. It really made a difference in these kids' lives. I worked with a number of those kids, and I know that for sure. So this kind of thing is similar to that. And I think we need to pay more attention to incorporating students into active situations and things that they can create and things that they really enjoy. I know a lot of teenagers now are really starting to, and in fact, where my grandson goes to school in Colorado, they have a rock climbing program. And that's done wonders for a lot of kids. And it's and actually they get college credits for it if they participate in it in high school. So I feel like this active involvement with a lot of people who have different perspectives and experiences is really useful for our teens and really growthful. And I will, Marcy, ask Anthony about that hot peppers because he would know, because he taught in Los Gatos for a long time for a specialized school, the Epicurean group, which runs a lot of the catering programs in different schools there.
All right. Anything else for John? John, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Applause. There's a lot of applause when you finish. So appreciate you providing that perspective and love the pictures and love seeing your students. So
I
thank
appreciate the
you.
opportunity to
Yeah. And
salute you
here's,
guys.
yeah. Yeah. Well, tell them that this group gave them lots of applause for their work. So
I will.
great. All right. Thanks. Oh, here's one more. You had one more picture. Look at that. Those are your Camp Sanger kids. That's great. All right. We're going to transition. And Jessica, thank you so much for coming and joining us this evening. And we can't wait to hear your story.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here. And I really loved learning so much from John and that program. That is amazing. We have some programs in our juvenile, we have a ranch program that's similar, but doesn't have that culinary to that extent. And that is just amazing. So I'm Jessica Spicer. I'm from the Santa Clara County Office Board of Education. But prior to that, for 8 years, I was a trustee for Los Altos School District. And, the way I got involved initially is that, like many others, I was a parent volunteer in our schools, did the PTA thing, did the educational foundation thing. Then I understood that we had 10 schools living on 9 sites. So I helped run a bond campaign to allow the district to be able to find and buy and find another site, and then ran a parcel tax campaign because we needed to make sure our teachers were being paid a living wage. And then in 2016, joined the Los Altos School District Board of Trustees because when I was out, actually doing a lot of community engagement to make sure these taxes and bond issuances passed, I did a lot of community engagement. And I promised a lot of things, and then I wasn't on the board to actually make sure that those things were happening. So I got on the board and made sure that I kept my word. And so as a local trustee, and this is where a lot of, because I've only been on the County Board of Education for 2 years, a lot of my community engagement experience of really being on the ground, understanding what our community wants and needs, and making sure that I'm transparent and accessible, come from my years on the LASD Board of Trustees. And so when I joined the board, for about once a month or once to twice a month, I would make sure I did office hours in local coffee shops and advertise them all over the place, and made sure people knew that they could come and ask me any question about the district, bring their concerns, and kind of be there for them, to try to be a red tape cutter, or at least make them understand the process they need to go through with their issues, or be able to answer their questions quite easily. It really depends on the issue. I also would put out a regular newsletter or a blog post. I would read my board packet, and I would make sure I understood everything in the board packet. And then I would write a blog post about what to expect on the agenda, and write it in plain English so people understood it. So if there were, abbreviations, I made sure they knew what the letter stood for, and what it meant, and what different things, because we all know that education speak can be hard for us to discern sometimes. So I try to make sure they understand. And writing that blog post actually made it so I understood it better. Because if you can write about it, it means you've been able to synthesize it enough to teach other people. And also, while on the LASD Board of Trustees, we had a very specific issue to our community relating to having charter schools on our campuses. And one of the reasons why we needed another school site was in order to be able to house the charter school on its own school site. And there were many, 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 many differing opinions as to how, who should go where, etc. So we ran, what I likened at the time, a community engagement process to end all community engagement processes, where at the beginning we had lots of sessions they called charrettes to give everybody the history of the issue and everything that's been looked at to date. And then so that we had 3 meetings in several different places at several different times, where we had hundreds of people coming. And then we had, and at those meetings, people gave their solutions. And then we had another set of meetings that were specifically focused on voting on those solutions from the community. In total, we had about 1,500 unique community members that participated in this public process. Then COVID hit, and it's a different story as to how things kind of landed. On that, I can tell you, we just broke ground this week on the property that was bought in order to place the charter school at that location. But it's been a long time coming. And then, also things we would do is we would have a presence at least once or twice a year at the local farmers market for a couple of trustees to show up and be able to answer questions and also market our schools to let people know that, you know, we're a great choice and to answer any questions they have about registering for our schools. And I also made sure to maintain a calendar to make sure all my trustees went to a PTA meeting or two a year, or that at least one trustee was going to each PTA meeting just to be there, to hear on the ground what the parent issues were. And now on the County Board of Education, I have definitely continued that newsletter. I did it from day one of joining the Santa Clara County Board of Education. And not only do I do a blog post that's and I'll try to put in the chat when I'm not talking. I'll send you my website, which is jessicaspizer.com. I have a link on there at the very top that says notes on SCCBOE. That's where you would go to find my agenda summaries, etc. But I also send a newsletter through MailChimp, where I not only give them the link to the blog post, but I let them know what I've been doing. Like I've been going to this meeting and X meeting, and all related to the County Board of Education. But sometimes I would share the human side of the fact that I'm a parent and the things I'm doing as a parent in the county. And what else? And I always just make sure that I am out there, more specifically in the area I represent, which is a couple cities in North Santa Clara County, but also out in the different areas that of the entirety of Santa Clara County, where I definitely have decision-making power. So we have about 20 charters in Santa Clara County. So I've been visiting different charters. Most of the time it's by their invitation because they're about to be renewed, but it's something. And some of them are doing it way ahead of time, but it's getting out there and understanding what's going on across our county. And I make sure to share with anybody that wants to meet with me. I have a calendar. I use a calendar app called SavvyCal, and I'll put all these links in the chat when I'm done. SavvyCal looks at all my Google calendars that I've put in there because I've got several, family, board, etc., and and allow people to schedule time to talk to me. Either they can do a half-hour Zoom with me, or we can meet for coffee to tell me their concerns or answer any of their questions they have. And that's the gist of my presentation, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jessica. Oh, how cool to do a blog post and actually talk like in language that communities can understand. I love that idea. Bina, I see you have your hand up. Oh, you're muted.
Jessica, thank you. I loved hearing your story from parent to involvement with your PTA to running for your school board to working on those initiatives, the bond initiatives, the parcel tax. My question is, especially since you were a K-12 school board member, could you talk a little bit about how you connect with your various K-12 districts in I assume you're by trustee area. Mm-hmm. Yeah, could you talk a little bit how you connect to those K-12 districts and schools within those districts?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I actually should have had that as part of my presentation. So thank you for teeing that up. I try to, over this school year, make sure that I am meeting with all the local trustees in my area. I, at the very least, tell them, hey, I'd like to meet, and I follow up. Sometimes they don't, respond back. But I do, I've made sure to contact them all and say, hey, I'm here as a resource, because not only, some of I specifically would follow up more with the newer trustees because I had been a trustee for I had now been a trustee for 10 years. So I have experience as a trustee that I can share with them as it relates to governance, but also to let them know what the County Office of Education does, and how we find out ways we can help them, or at least allow them to learn different ways that the county does help their local districts that they didn't necessarily know. But I am, as you can tell, I'm very proactive about it. And I'm on another way is that I'm on the Santa Clara County School Boards Association, which are kind of our local professional community for all trustees in Santa Clara County. And so I find out through that also. Good question.
And Jessica, you were sharing before we got started a little bit about some work you do to help like people that are running for boards. I thought that was super interesting.
Yes, well, I'm on I am I've definitely helped any local trustee or somebody who wants to run for local areas. I will meet with. A lot of the time, it's them asking for endorsements. But even if I don't end up trying to help them win, I do make sure they understand what the job is. It's so important for people to know what they're getting into, because some think that being a trustee is full on micromanaging, especially at the local district. They think they can just tell the superintendent exactly and everybody what to do. And as we know, our power is not that granular. So it's letting them know. And, I personally try to make sure, beyond that, that they know how to govern. They understand Brown Act. Like today, we were interviewing somebody for endorsement who was saying, I'm going to just talk to all my trustees not at board meetings to make sure that I, understand them and get everything from them. And we had to explain to her that the Brown Act didn't really allow her to necessarily do that. That yes, she could choose a buddy on an issue, but it was enlightening to understand how green people can come into these things. When I ran for office, the first time I was very engaged in the community and I generally knew what I was going into. I think I had a little bit to learn at that time about the Brown Act. But now, and when I ran for County Board of Education, and my Maimona is on the call, she's one of my board members. She knows I started running 2 years prior to running for 2 years prior for the Santa Clara County Board of Education. And at that point, I was truly getting to understand what that job entailed. So I kind of have a high bar for people. I am like, why haven't you done the homework? But I'm willing to help them with the homework too.
Yeah. No, I appreciated you sharing that. I thought that was very interesting and also very kind, right? To be able to help people understand.
Yes.
Any other questions for Jessica? Great perspective of both being that district level K-12 and then transitioning to the county. So
Thank you.
all right. Just checking. I can only. All right. Oh, lots of applause coming your way. So thank you, Jessica. I'm going to go check out some of your, I got to find out about the Savvy Cal thing. That sounds very cool. So, all right. Well, thank you again for sharing your story and for being part of our evening tonight. And again, for all of our speakers, we'll have a little time at the end. So if there's that question that you didn't have a chance to ask, we'll have another quick moment. So
I have a thought
I,
really
yeah.
quickly. And you all might have heard me say this before. I really think it's important that we as board members, especially county board members, because very few people, just as Jessica said, understand what our role is and our purpose and why we even exist. So I like to think of ourselves as ambassadors, and I know Louise thinks of that in the same way. And so do probably many of you, but I think it's important because most people don't understand what county board members are involved in doing. And our role is so diverse. It's important that we share that with people. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Lee, thank you so much for being with us today. And Lee Davis is here from the Imperial County Office of Education. So I look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. I have enjoyed listening to the first two speakers. So um, basically, I'm going to share a quick introduction and then get right into it because I know we're getting low on time here. I worked at ICOE for 25 years, and 10 of those years I was in the superintendent's office and worked very closely with our board and policies. I retired in 2023 and then ran for the board in 2024. So I've only been a board member for 2 years. I replaced Dr. Jaime, who asked me to run for the board. And I'm currently the board vice president. I'm also a UC Master Gardener and a UC Master Beekeeper apprentice. So I've been asked to share how I interact with my community as a board member, and I've broken it into 3 areas: my intentional community engagement, my increasing the county board visibility, and lastly, finding creative ways to serve and represent to connect with our small rural community. First, I'm going to talk about intentional community engagement. When a board member actively engages with their communities, they gain deeper understanding of local needs, challenges, and successes. And I found this very true because even though I had 25 years experience in the county office, it was vastly different than being a board member. The visibility of being out in the community, I felt really helped to build trust and keep the public informed on some of our initiatives. And it also helps to bring the board, it helps to make more informed decisions based on what we're hearing that's going on in our schools. And it helps to build really strong connections when we're out and about. So how I engage with my community, I've got broken down into 8 key points. The first one, volunteer and serve. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. Everybody who signs up to be a board member, whether it's at your district or county board, you are service-oriented people. You want to do something that is good for your community. And so it's very natural to volunteer. I volunteer in a variety of settings at schools and libraries, community organizations, and educational programs. And these opportunities really help me to connect directly with students, families, educators, and community leaders. One of the examples, I'm going to applaud John. I had to keep my mouth quiet because we also have a school garden project. So as a UC Master Gardener, I was able to start a school garden at one of our alternative ed sites 2 years ago. And I started with 8 students for a pilot program, and now that's grown into 20 students with a waiting list. So I go and I volunteer teach every Tuesday and Thursday morning. And we've now started a second garden I've gotten another UC Master Gardener to have another site at or one of our other alternative ed sites. And the students absolutely love it. It was so engaging with them that statistically their numbers have grown on their data that they report to the state, because there's kids that are now coming, they're dealing with truancy and absence and all that. The students that are engaged in the garden, we start at 8 in the morning and they're there at 8 in the morning and they want to be there. They love harvesting. I won't talk too much about it because John hit a lot of really, really good points. My kiddos had never had fresh vegetables. They didn't know how to harvest. I mean, it was incredible. We do seed starting. I was able to get a grant to do a grow room for them. So I taught them how to plant the seeds. We put it in the grow room. 4 days later, we had seedlings. They planted that, and then they harvest everything and take it home. Their families are ecstatic. They're so proud of the fact that they are growing food and taking it home. It's been an absolutely amazing experience. I've loved it. It's just generated such positive attention. There's been lots of press about what they're doing. The students have built so much confidence. I've talked about their attendance improving. One little brag I'll do is these students had 4 of them. I taught vermicomposting. They decided that would be a great science fair project. They had never, ever, ever competed in a county science fair, and 4 of my boys took first place for the very first time entering into a county science fair, and they won first place in earth science in the senior division. We recognized them at a board meeting. They've been recognized throughout the county. They got great medals. It was they kept saying they didn't feel like they belonged, and then over time they really realized. And I told them, yes, you do. You absolutely know earth science, and they're brilliant, and it's so exciting. We've been able to create partnerships with our agriculture community, which is vast down here, and then open up doors for grants for a future family resource center, which is going to be the building right next to where I have the garden. We're going to be putting in a kitchen there. I've learned we grew Japanese eggplants, and nobody was taking it home to their families. And I realized it's because they'd never had it. So I did a real quick cooking demo one day. I'm like, okay, let's go harvest it. I'm going to show you how to make it. And then they test. Well, now everybody takes it home because now they've had it. They understand what it is. They know how to cook it. They've taught their families how to cook it. And so we're looking at in the future with getting the kitchen family resource center generational on not only on growing your own food, harvesting your food, but then also cooking it and adding that health dimension. Also supporting literacy. I volunteer at the local library. That's a great way to do it. Just having reading time with the Board of Education member. Libraries always need someone there to volunteer. And I always make sure I wear my ICOE shirt. I'm branding every time I go there. I want them to get to know who their board members are. Number 3, provide free educational opportunities. So as a UC Master Beekeeping Apprentice, I offer free STEAM activities to our rural schools. We all know school business. Rural schools are very limited on their budgets. And so this is one way that I can serve our rural schools. I go in and I do a 30-minute PowerPoint on honeybees, the importance of it, where our food comes from. And then we do a fun little STEAM activity. And then the last thing that we do is I bring an observation case that has a frame of bees in it. So the kiddos can come and look at the bees. And it's just a really great way for me to educate and serve as a board member. Also build relationships through community organizations. I know that you guys are all involved in other areas, other clubs, nonprofits, and those are the places where you're going to really, really connect and increase a public understanding. It's so important. I've never realized how many people do not know the role, and you guys had just talked about it, the role of the county office and our responsibilities. And these are great times to build relationships and then kind of share those, those little nuggets of information, and help them to understand what our role is as a county office, because it is vastly different than a school district in many ways. Also connect through your faith and your community gatherings. Don't underestimate that opportunity wherever you're out. Those types of gatherings are very family oriented, and they love to hear, oh, you're a board member. Oh, okay, share this and share that. This is a great opportunity. Attend your local events, whether it's sporting events, academic competitions, fundraisers, your district board meetings. Visibility really, really matters. Showing up, really demonstrates that you support the students, the staff, families, and it creates opportunities to have meaningful conversations. Number 7, use personal interest to open doors. Like I had mentioned, I'm a UC Master Gardener and a UC Beekeeper Apprentice. That sparks a lot of conversation over anything else I've ever been involved with. And so that's really fun for me, because I usually get a question about it. And then that opens up the door of, yeah, well, I'm also on the county board and I use this platform to, go and support our schools and whatnot. So think about, everybody has a hobby or an interest, or especially, think about your hobby or your specialty, and, and how you can share that with the community. I know I'm preaching to the choir. You guys are probably already doing that. And then lastly, I have kind of a goofy little thing. I share educational fun facts. And I know that seems silly, but when I'm out and about, I'll just say something like, hey, did you know, our County Office of Education recently secured a grant for XYZ. And it's just a fun way to let them, this is our last update at our board meeting. And so it's just really a great way to engage, and people are more likely to trust and support educational, leaders when they regularly see them at board meetings or activities, and we're being transparent and we're sharing. And then part two of what I kind of want to talk about is increasing the county board's visibility. One of the things I have is you guys have, I think Jessica just talked about this a lot, be present at the district board meetings. So I do go around and I attend my district board meetings that are in my area, beginning of the school year, closing of the school year. I also share anytime that there's something. We have a really cool, and I'll put a link in the chat. We have a really great, for lack of a better word, a newsletter. It's called iConnections. So it's ICOE Connections, right? So iConnections. And it focuses on everything that's going on, not only at county, but any that involves any of the school districts. So if there's a student that won the spelling bee that's in my area, I will make copies of that. I will go to the board meeting. I will congratulate them on Teacher of the Year, spelling bee, robotics, whatever the accomplishment is. And I will let them know that we talked about them during the board meeting, that we had them come to our board meeting, recognized them, and then that they made our eye connections. And then I'll pass it out. And I always make sure I have extra copies, because there's always parents in the meeting that would like to have a copy. I also go through, we have an annual report, and that's fabulous. It shares all the data and whatnot. I also, in September, I go and I present that, because the report is usually done the end of August, and share that. And they love that. It's a great way to stay informed. We recently, ICOE just became the official SAT testing site, so our students no longer have to drive to San Diego, which is 2 hours away, to take an SAT. Right after we got done celebrating that, I made copies of the registration and the information, and went and I had a board meeting for one of our districts that night, took it, presented it to the board, and let them know, that ICOE is now doing this. Parents cheered. They were so excited. And so that was kind of wonderful to be there and have it be very fresh off the, from ICOE. And they knew that I had just attended that and made the effort to be there to report it to their school board meetings. And then lastly, just finding creative ways to serve, represent, and connect with the community. I've kind of talked a little bit about my beekeeping and gardening, free educational activities that provide, the libraries. I share our board accomplishments, educational updates, and any conversation that I have, and very naturally, not where I'm just blurting it out in an awkward way. But I found mostly building relationships has made it the best opportunity for people to really understand and know what the role of the board is. And, using my unique interests, skills, community connections to engage with, students and families. And, serving as a county board member, it doesn't stop when the meeting ends. By using our personal interests or talents, relationships, our everyday presence in the community, we can create meaningful connections that helps students, families, and community members really better understand the work that the County Office of Education and our board does. So, thank you.
Oh, Lee, thank you so much. I had all these visuals of bridges. Like you've got this master gardener, and then you bridge over here, and then you're beekeeping, and that's another little bridge. And then, all the different pieces that you do to connect with your community. So thank you. Great insight. So, what questions do we have for Lee? Oh, challenge accepted, it says in the chat. So,
Lee, I have a question because you worked in the county office for years and now you're on the board. So, do you feel like you have enough information as a board member compared to when you were working in the office? How I was a district superintendent before I became a county board member. So, I feel like I don't know as much. How do you perceive that, and how do you remedy it without being annoying or micromanaging?
No, I 100% understand. Because I really thought, oh, I've got this, especially being the policy person, being the board support and all that. But I'm going to give a little shout out to Bina because, well, and then Lucy Hendry.
Yeah.
So she got me involved right away. And then Bina had sent me invitation to attend, some of the trainings and workshops on Zoom, right? That has helped tremendously. And Lucy actually was a great example to me because I know that she was going to all of her school districts. So she set this up. I am only sharing what I'm sharing today because she set me up knowing, oh, your districts need to know who you are. And I hadn't thought about that. I've always been county office. I hadn't thought the small nugget of the districts. So between that and the amazing classes that Bina had set up as a new board member, that has really helped me to get an understanding of the full picture versus as a retiree from the county who now just happens to be on the board. Yeah, great question.
There's a question in the chat.
I see a statement like how, yeah. Oh, well, yeah, there is. So, how do you go about coordinating lessons with the community, local schools, students, whether it's reading or a gardening lesson?
That's an easy one. I call. I let them know. So I did. I was asked to do a summer school for one of my smaller districts, and it's because when I was at the board meeting, I let them know, and the superintendents there, I let them know, hey, I am able to present on XYZ. Here's my contact information. If you guys are interested, please let me know. Same thing with the library. I'm like, I'm here to serve. Whatever you need, here's my contact. So I just reached out to all of them. It was helpful being in the superintendent's office for a while because I already have a relationship with all the soups. And so it's easy for me to reach out and just let them know, hey, if you need me. And I even do it for districts that aren't in my area because, we have our rural schools that they do not have a lot of extra cash. So I always just let them know if you'd like me to do it, then here's my contact. So.
That's perfect.
And I haven't
exactly
had anyone tell me no, thank you.
I can't imagine they would. I think
Right,
you would
right.
say, yeah, no, that's not really what you meant. I can feel that. Anyone else? Any other questions for Lee? How about for any of our presenters tonight? So this is a burning question that you had that came up from now that you've had a chance to hear all three. We wanted to give you just a moment to get some insight with anybody else.
I have a question, this Bina, for all three, if they choose to answer. I'm curious, one issue that's come up for the SCOE board members is how the county office staff and superintendent help our board members get out in the community to talk about the county board and the county office. And I'm curious, you all must be incredible extroverts. But because you're all, you had great stories about how you're out in the community and connected to so many different groups. But has that issue come up, or does your county staff or county superintendent invite some of you to go out in the community with him or her, particularly if they're in your trustee area?
So I'm just going to say, Bina, you have a particular genius, and it's embedded in your passion for doing this job well. Um, the superintendent for me is elected by all of the districts. So it's different than board members that are elected from just a portion of the representation. But if your question carries, for me, it carries that I want to talk to our superintendent and say, hey, when you are in my district and you're going to a particular school district or a particular event, could you get your staff to give me a heads up, or do you want to send me a quick text? I would say in the case, I'll just keep it relevant to what I shared with you guys tonight. After it was said and done, I sent a text to the superintendent saying, hey, can we carve out a little time to recognize these private business owners that made this commitment? And we had construction companies, party rental companies, garbage companies, we had restaurant owners that all wanted to see the success of our students. And before I could finish explaining the text, he was already saying it's agendized. We're going for it, and he was very responsive. And so, and the people that were recognized were heartfelt, not just, uh, just surprised, I guess, in a positive way, but they enrich their commitment to see our county office programs light up. One of the things tonight that was inspiring for me with Lee's comments is that, I've always kind of looked at, especially during COVID, I'm an 8-year board member, and um, our school districts were hit super hard with angry parents at COVID. On the county office side, we experienced just about zero. And I think it's because the continuation schools, the juvenile hall schools, the many of the people that we serve in our charters um, are compromised, and they feel like COVID was just one more thing. And we really didn't see protests from parents. Um, but I feel like I should have been closer engaged to the people in my district during that time. If I wasn't feeling it at the dais, that didn't mean it wasn't happening. And tonight, Lee kind of pointed out, no, you got to get out there and engage. You got to be a part of what's happening in the community, and you got to keep your education relevant and rigorous. And so, um, yeah, I think you asked a really important question or made a really important point, Bina. I do think we needed to consider how to ask our super not so much to get involved in their everyday business or their other areas of concern, but where we're concerned, where we represent, we do need that engagement and we do need that connection. So that's me.
And I can do a quick response to that. As you see, I am proactive. I'm not actually. I am I know it doesn't seem like I'm an introvert, but I am, but I am taking my representation very seriously. So I want to make sure I'm out there in the community and going beyond my comfort level. Because my job is to represent these people. So I'm out there. So I do go to anytime I hear that there's some district-wide events in my district things, I go to them. You should have conversations with your superintendent about making sure when they're in your area that you're communicated with to that extent. An example that I had is I don't actually, it wasn't the superintendent that invited me, but I got invited along with the superintendent to speak at the local high school district's back to school day. So it was the basically all the staff were back that day. They had the superintendent of the county speak, and myself speak along with the head of the teachers unions and everything for that local district. And it was lovely, and it was also my home. So my daughter is a student in that high school district, so it was a great experience. But it's saying, I want to make sure I'm out there, and any help you can give me in that respect would be great. It's, just kind of coming at it from there, that perspective.
I think a point that all of you made is getting out there, not just as a board member, but serving in other ways. Um, we just had our county fair, which is the Nevada County event of the year, and I got to work 3 different days. We handed out cookies for our scholars with our superintendent. And then I'm on a high school district foundation. So I got to spend a day in the foundation booth. And then my Rotary Club has launched the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. So I got to hand out Dolly Parton books at the fair. And what I learned as a high school district superintendent is if I go to a football game, people will talk to me. They're not going to make an appointment and come to my office. But if they see me at the football game, then they'll tell me what's on their mind. And that's just so it really is important to be connected to the community in so many ways.
Other thoughts or questions? Thank you. I think those are all really great points.
I do. I could not get the hand up. This is Yvonne Chan from Los Angeles County Board of Education. And first of all, thank you so much, the three of you and all my colleagues that I see you engaging in talking about, what do we do beyond the boardroom? Not only to be engaged, but really be like Lee said, take our role very seriously. We don't go there just to be a board member. I mean, we have our responsibility. So here's a question. How do you, let's put it this way, when you're being pulled into a district, is not politics, a district challenge or dilemma. Example, school closure. Example, soil cleanup after Pasadena fire. So how do you either engage or disengage, or how do you really respond to these type of a pull, which is very good, very gentle, and sometimes very harsh? How do you do that?
I could quickly answer that. I mean, it's not well, you come at it with empathy, right? Like you say, oh my, they're upset their school. I'll say the school closure. Yes. Now I understand this is a very, very hard decision, but it's important, but then explaining to them, because I actually had to respond to a couple emails related to San Jose Unified having school closures. Explaining to them that is not something that the county board has any oversight over. So yes, I understand your pain. This is, this is hard. We don't have any oversight. on this, that, and explain that. So, and it's some ways it's a nice thing to actually have, like the law. Like, sorry, the law says I have no power in this. And so, but always be that human, giving them the empathy for the situation. So, just I I'm not, I don't know the law. I know we have nothing to do with with cleanup a fire, but again, yes, oh my God, the fires and the, whatever is left in the soil from it. Yes, it's very hard. And then maybe also us finding out who does have it, be that tape cutter. What is the next line they can talk? Whom can they talk to on that? So that's where I would go at it from.
And I think you have a CCBE that has the entire state of California. We're in a unique situation. We're like three different states. And if I was going to answer that question for you, ma'am, I would say call Jessica. You're in this organization. You are you are connected to this group, and she came out explaining the 300 different ways that she communicates to her community and is comfortable with it. And I think that's the thing that we can do if we have this role. We have some access. We have a little bit of a unique position where we can get a little more in-depth information from authorities that or regulators that do make those decisions. And then all we need to do is not color it, not change it, just communicate it. And I think Jessica's pitch tonight did that. I would just activate your ACCBE Rolodex and call someone.
Yes, right, John. Thank you so much. It is ACCB has a peer-to-peer, without violating Brown Act. Just give each other a call. What do you do with the situation? Do you have any resources, or where you think if there's any policy legislation that is being cooking up now to address that? So that the main thing is to give the community hope, although you cannot, personally solve that. Regardless what it is, just say, look, there is hope. Let's just find a way. Thank you, John. And thank you, Jessica.
And I'm just going to add real quick, Yvonne, if that's okay. I did have that when I was in the superintendent's office during COVID, the office, we got lots of fun calls from the parents. And I'm going to agree 100% on what Jessica and John just said. They want to be heard. And then, you just take it a step further. I'd find out what school district, their children were in, and I would let them know their rights. You can go to the board meeting. You have the right, because most of them have never been. We have parents that are not very, a lot of them do not even have a high school diploma, and they're frustrated. They call and they don't want to hear that I can't help them. So I'll look up what school district their child is in, when the next board meeting is. I give them the name of all the board members, and I let them know you have a right to go to the board meeting. You'll have 3 minutes to talk. If you feel you're going to talk longer than 3 minutes, you can write it out and present it to the board members and give them something in writing. That 10 times out of 10 really helps to calm them. That, just like what John was saying, you can even go up higher, with the ACCBE if they need to, because sometimes they want that top dog. They want to know what, and they always think that the superintendent for the county can help them with the schools. And like Jessica said, they don't understand that we are different. The school districts have their own governing board. And once you inform them of that and let them know their rights, the Brown Act, all of that, then they're well equipped. And then, they feel like they're walking away with some type of armor of how to, advocate for their child.
Great responses. Wonderful. All right. Anything else? We're coming up to the end of the hour. And hello, Tracy Bishop. She just sent me a hi in the chat. So All right. Well, we'd love to know what you thought, those of you that are still here, and we'll share this also with those that had to leave early, but please feel free to give us an evaluation. We build our programming based on the input that people have. So we really look forward to hearing from you and hearing what else might be of interest to you. And then we want to share some things we have coming up. So on August 27th, so next week, we are doing a session just for administrative executive assistants, really to give them an opportunity to, similar to you as trustees have a way to communicate. We're going to provide that for our executive assistants to our superintendents who also support you as boards. So it is a closed session, but feel free to pass it on to those people that support you in the county office. And then we have a presidents and vice presidents forum in September that will be really sort of an open conversation, a chance for our presidents and vice presidents to come together. And then we're excited about a CTE series that will kick off in September that we're going to highlight some different programs throughout the state and conclude with a site visit in San Diego at the Innovation Center. You can register for all of these or pass on the links at the accbe.org webpage. And then finally, a big thank you, Jessica, Lee, and John. Thank you so much for, yes, answering my email, but mostly for spending some time with us and sharing your insights and just being so willing to just talk about all the different things you do. So exciting. 3 different perspectives. And I think that really added to a great conversation. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being part of it. And for those of you that came and stayed all the way to the end, thank you for taking time out of your evening to spend with ACCBE. And if we'll be here for a couple more minutes if there's other things that come up. So thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a great evening.